What about you, Teddy? Did you like the new episode? Episode 9? Oh, you did? Okay, well, that's fine. It's great. Um, Hi, my name is Michael, and I really am so happy to get back into Twin Peaks. I just watched episode 9, and it was amazing. Now, it wasn't as amazing as the glory of episode 8. That's really going to be, I have a feeling it's going to be the best episode of the series, except for maybe the finale, because it was just so weird and bizarre and surreal and exactly up my alley. But this one is much more normal. It's much more regular. We get back into the normal story, which is still proceeding at a glacial pace. But because I enjoy all of the characters in the world, they can take as long as they want to get where they're going, and it doesn't really bother me. We get a number of little plot movements here. For one, we go back to Matthew Lillard's character, the school principal who allegedly murdered the librarian. And Matthew Lillard is fantastic. I never would have thought that, considering the silly stuff he did back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the comedy stuff. He's actually amazing. He's really good in this very dramatic, serious role. It's weird that we find out like a bit of what was going on in the first 2 hours of the show, and then essentially nothing until episode 9, until the ninth hour we find out stuff. That's really interesting. We had to wait like almost 7 hours or so to really get anything going. And we find out that Matthew Lillard's character, the school principal, was actually apparently interested in a place that sounds like that he calls it the zone, which sounds like a parallel dimension, which of course in Twin Peaks really sounds like the lodge, the white or the black lodge, or something to do with that. And apparently was part of some sort of paranormal investigation website that he was running and looking into this. And some sort of horrifying event took place where he and the librarian that he was in love with apparently found Major Briggs, whose soul, presumably after being murdered by Agent Cooper, is still alive somewhere out there in the ether, like literally in the ether. It's in some sort of weird, nebulous, spiritual space out there. And he apparently was trying to do something with them, but they were nabbed first and attacked by, I presume, Evil Coop or others. So there were a bunch of people there. That kind of reminded me of like the huge crowd of people in the convenience store during the meeting of the lodge creatures and Firewalk with Me. But I love where this is going, and he gives this really powerful performance, and he's really good at it. It just scares us about what's going on there. It's really frightening, and it really, really works. I love it. We also learn that Diane is either working with Agent Cooper, or excuse me, evil Agent Cooper, DoppleCooper, or is maybe not working with him, trying to work against him, but knows more than she's letting on to the FBI. I feel that she's probably just working with him and could be evil. That would be a great twist to find out that this seemingly innocuous, never before seen character actually somehow turned evil. She kind of offers Gordon Cole a cigarette, and it's like, ooh, that's a little strange because it is something we heard in the previous episode about needing a light for a cigarette. It was kind of bizarre with that weird homeless guy thing, and we don't really know what's going on. But she could still be good in trying to work with the people that are trying to take him down, like Ray was. But why she's not telling Gordon and the others about this, I don't really know. Maybe she thought that they had been compromised in some way, or wouldn't believe her, or wouldn't help her, or didn't have the capabilities or the intellect to figure out what was going on. But whatever's going on, we also continue on with the police investigation storyline, and a great little moment with Betty Briggs. And the actress that plays her I've always liked, and she's fantastic when we see her with Bobby going into their home. And again, very oddly modern looking to see her using a Mac computer. It just looks kind of weird as a little laptop she has there. And they get a secret message from Major Briggs. And I never thought about this before, but Major Briggs was kind of in tune with the spiritual energy of the town. So could it be that that dream that he had of Bobby was not just an innocuous dream he had of a hope for his son, but a prognostication about what was going to happen to Bobby that eventually did happen, presumably, with him in the future? That he saw that he was going to be a good guy and work with the righteous people instead of being a drug dealing, sort of half crazed, fiery thug that was trying to tear the town apart and turn it upside down. The Major foresaw that somehow, because the Major definitely foresaw that he was not going to be in the picture for very long and hid very specific instructions about how to find Agent Cooper, and that there were two Agent Coopers and that something needed to be done about that. We also get a wonderful little comedy break sequence with, I consider it sort of comedy, with Ike the Spike and the police officers and Dougie running around. And Dougie stares very long and hard at a woman's bright red shoes, like like the ruby slippers, maybe. David Lynch seems to have a thing for Wizard of Oz. That it kind of reminded me of what of that. And could it be that Dale really does need his shoes? That's the thing he's missing? I thought that there was a crazy fan theory that he doesn't need his shoes. That's not what they're talking about. They need like a fraction of his soul or something like that. But no, maybe it's just shoes that special shoes that he needs somehow. I don't know. It seems kind of crazy. We also get yet another little an ending sequence with these two girls at a bar, and they're kind of talking about their miserable lives and how they do drugs and the really unpleasant minimum wage crap jobs they work. And it's really sad because that really speaks to an entire generation of people going on right now in which there's a lot of hopelessness and despair. And they don't mention it directly. They talk about Chinese synthetic drugs, but really kind of reminded me of the opioid addiction going on in the United States, where millions of people over the years have used these horrible drugs, and thousands of people have died. And it kind of shows like the foundation for how these awful processes of using these drugs and living these sinful, miserable lives begin, and how the lodge can sort of profit off of that. They're always trying to get people to become more miserable, to become to sate their earthly desires, their carnal desires in horrible ways with chemicals like drugs. And it was a wonderful little scene. It didn't feel like it was just sort of out of nowhere. It felt very important, even if we never see these two characters again. They also mentioned some weird things about like like zebra, black and white things, and a penguin, which was very peculiar. I don't quite know what they were talking about there, but I've set the mood for the town and the kind of unpleasantness and misery and sadness, and they need sort of a light in their life, that shining. I haven't really gotten that spark yet for Twin Peaks, except for one brief moment inside of Norma's Diner, the Double R, where I really felt like this magical, happy, peaceful, too good to be true kind of place of Twin Peaks exists. It's a much darker, grittier kind of Twin Peaks. And the Roadhouse is doing booming business. They just have, that place is packed seemingly every night, except for that one night where no one was there. Every other night, there were just like a couple of hundred people there, it looked like, practically. And they had a band playing there again. I don't remember the name of them, but they were pretty good. A sort of all-female, very synth-heavy kind of pop group. And that makes these kind of, not Julie Cruz-esque, but that kind of sort of synthesizer washing kind of sound, of sort of waves of music that play over you that sounded pretty good. We don't get any resolution, of course, with the Dougie story. No Agent Cooper has been cited yet. We don't really know if he's going to... Maybe he's never going to come back. It's possible. Or maybe he'll come back like in the last 10 minutes of the last episode or something. Who knows? It's possible. But I've sort of... I've accustomed myself to that, and I'm willing to work along with that. So we learned so much during this episode. It was amazing. I'm actually back into this. I'm willing to work on all of this again in my mind. I love the fact that they're allowing you to create all of these crazy theories about what's going on, and what if Philip Jeffries is trying to take down Evil Cooper. Something that someone pointed out to me that I forgot was that there's also Philip Gerard, Mr. Gerard, the one-armed man. Could that be the Philip they were talking about? Because it doesn't really seem like they could, because the Philip Gerard really, I don't think he really knew what was going on all around him. So I assume it's still Philip Jeffries. I assume Philip Gerard is kind of like a babe in the woods, as Leland was described as, where he's kind of doesn't quite know what's going on everywhere. But it's possible, I guess, that he knows what's going on, is trying to help. The one-armed man is trying to help people. But I really feel that it's probably Philip Jeffries who's alive somehow. And amazingly, maybe we can see David Bowie. That would be absolutely incredible. So I'm back into the story. I'm loving every second of it. I want it to be continuing, and I'm calming down a little bit. I've cooled on my high caffeine right before watching the show binge, and I've decided that with just a couple of donuts, I can relax into it and enjoy it a lot better without sort of my mind racing all the time about what's going on. But tell me what you thought of this episode. Tell me if you're still in love with the show, if you love it even more, if you wanted to go back to the stuff from the previous episode, episode 8, or if you wanted to continue on this tack forever. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more Twin Peaks reaction videos. I'm going to be reacting to episode 10, probably either releasing that on Saturday or Sunday, just before the release of episode 11. So, yeah, I thought it was fantastic. Have a good day.